Each year, the Texas Radio Hall of Fame recognizes the efforts of an outstanding female in the broadcasting field with our only named award. We call it the Sammy. This is Marissa Ramirez. Eileen Pace is a product of Space City, but it was Beaumont-Port Arthur's Golden Triangle that gave her the big break she was looking for. Luckily, after only 6 months at KYKR, she was able to catch the ear of Houston's legendary KIKK, and it was there she began her hobby of collecting precious metals in the form of broadcasting awards. While it was hard to leave Kick and Houston, San Antonio and the desire to raise a family took her to Military City, USA. And for more than 30 years, that's where her good work was mostly seen and heard. Eileen rocked the news booth at KISS, and she spent a decade at 50,000-watt powerhouse WOAI, where she won an impressive 50 awards during her tenure. She traveled up I-35 and developed and led a recognized news team in New Braunfels at KGNB. She even spent a bit of time in her capital at KLBJ, but it was eventually back to the Alamo City and KSTX. She's a recipient of the Edward R. Murrow Award, and she's won the Lone Star Award from the Houston Press Club. And while investigative reporting is something she's known for, her lighter side won her praise as well, as the Associated Press gave her the top award for Best Sports Feature for her breakneck, wall-to-wall, continuous, uninterrupted coverage of the crawfish races at the Texas Folklife Festival. Eileen is still at it today and can be heard waking up San Antonio as the host of Morning Edition and is a writer and contributor to the Texas Public Radio's network of 5 stations throughout the Lone Star State. Her volunteer efforts are too numerous to mention, but include kids, pets, up-and-coming journalists, and enterprising young ladies just like her. Help me congratulate my friend Eileen Pace, the 2016 Sammy Award recipient and a 2016 inductee of the Texas Radio Hall of Fame.
Well, I decided to bring notes, and now my iPad says, "Are you sure you want to submit this form again?" I'd like to thank Josh, too, for, managing the details of all these events and doing this so well, and we're so indebted to him for just everything that he does to bring us together every year. So, Josh, thank you very much. I have a long list of thank yous if I can just submit. It'll happen, trust me. And by the way, I'm going to have to use my cheaters if I get it to submit because, here we are. If I haven't said hi to you yet, it's not because I don't love you and want to say hi, but I can't see you. So please find me later. I walked into the newsroom at WAI one morning back in January, I think it was 1990 or so, and the Army called. And there was nobody else in the newsroom, and I picked up the phone. Michael Maine was somewhere, but who knows where. And it was an Army PAO, and he said, "Well, we want to send somebody over to Operation Desert Shield. We're gonna take a media crew. Would somebody at your station like to go?" And I had 3 little children, and I was a single mother, and I said, "Yeah, I'll go." Wow. So I began the process of training for this adventure, and everybody in the Army told me that the sand over there is just amazing, that they took things in Ziplocs, and all the sand got in the Ziplocs and ruined all their electronics, and they would take books, and they would open the book to read it, and the sand would be inside and fall out of the book. And we trained on not how to fight anything, because I was just going to go over with a sort of a MASH hospital unit and watch them work. But we did have to train for putting on hazardous chemical defense gear, so it was called a MOP suit. And if you know anything about military, everything's an acronym, and I have no idea what MOP meant, but it was an MOPP suit. And you would have to put this thing on, head to toe gear, including the gas mask and the protective shoes, within something like a minute, if I remember correctly. So there was a lot of training to do that, and I did all that, and they said, "Now go get your shots." get all these things done. And so I did all that. I contacted my mother, and my mother came to San Antonio to watch my children. She said, "Are you crazy? You have 3 children." I said, "Oh, Mom, they'll be fine." And then I got all the shots. I think I got the typhoid shot on a Friday and went home, and it just knocked me flat. And by Monday morning, I was fine, so I went back to work, and I answered the phone in the newsroom, and they said, "This is the Army. You're not going. The war has started." Okay. Time to move on to something else. So I have a lot to be grateful for. I mean, originally I was a kid. I was not sure what I wanted to do. College wasn't really interesting me. I was in college, but selling steel. I was selling metals on the southeast side of Houston, very near the University of Houston. And my conversations were about titanium and magnesium and vanadium and things I was just learning. It was fascinating, but every day it was the same. And one day I said, I want to be in radio. I want to do something different every day, and I want to meet new people every day. And so I contacted Bob Stewart at the Columbia School of Broadcasting. And I walked in there, and Bob Stewart says, "You're a radio voice, but you know what? You need to do news." Well, I wanted to be a DJ. But no, he says, "You're not funny. You need to go be in news." So between Bob Stewart and Scott Arthur, they encouraged me, and I got my first job with Jim Love at KYKR in Nederland, Texas. So I did pay my dues, not with Jim. Jim was wonderful. Jim is wonderful. And then I came back to Houston and went to work with Daryl Holly. And Daryl Holly and Barry Warner taught me more than I ever wanted to know, trust me. And Daryl's still teaching me, thank goodness. Daryl and I are still in touch, and so are Barry and I stayed at Barry's and his wife's house the last time I was visiting. So we're all still really close, but there was a fire in Houston, and here I was. I'm sure I must have been jailbait. I must have been like 19, 20, I don't know. And here I was in Houston covering the news, and I didn't know how to do it. I had not taken journalism. I wanted to be a DJ. But anyway, so they sent me to City Hall, and there was this big thing about wood shingle ordinances, and they were going to get rid of them and outlaw them. And then the KTRH guy, the all news station, slowly kind of secretly wraps up all his wires and cords and leaves the room. And I said, where is that guy going? You know, competition back then between radio news was pretty intense. So he left the room, and I sat there, and I thought, wonder where he is. And then I got a call from the press room behind the City Hall chambers, and it was my desk. I think it was probably Gary Hoffman, or maybe it was Daryl, called and said, there's a 7-alarm fire. You need to go to it. And I said, a 7-alarm? What does that mean? And they said, that means Houston can't handle it. They're going to have to call in other people. And it was near Memorial. And I said, well, is it a wood shingle building? And they said, well, I'll find out. And sure enough, it was. So we got to be, I think, the first ones that reported that City Council blew off this wood shingle ordinance, and now here's a wood shingle fire to, point it out. And so I drove out there, and I hear on the radio Ron Foster saying, there's a 7-alarm fire, don't go to this area. Eileen's on her way, she'll have details. And I was so scared. And I had no idea how I was going to do this. So I drove up on the curb because the traffic on Memorial Drive was traffic on Memorial Drive. I drove through the park, did all kinds of illegal things to get there. And I got there, and I got out, and people were coming home from their jobs, and they were taking out their birds and their clothing and their sofas from their apartments because they were burning down. And I asked one lady, can I use your phone? She says, yeah, if it works. And I went inside, and I used her phone, and I called in a live report. And they said, go do another one. So further in, I went to the fire further in. It was a big Woodway, I think, complex apartment fire, huge place. And by the time I did another report right after that from somebody else's apartment, and then I got to the center of the apartment complex where they had set up in this switching room for Southwestern Bell for the residents' phone. Southwestern Bell came out and set up a phone for reporters. And so I got on that phone. And do y'all remember Cheech and Chong? Dave's not here, man. So I'm on the phone with my news director, and I'm live, and he's asking me questions, and I thought he wanted to know if the mayor was there. I said, the mayor's here, don't worry, the mayor's here. And he says, is so-and-so there? And I said, is who here? because it's loud and there's fire and there's firemen. And he said, is so-and-so there? I said, is who here? And he said, is so-and-so there? I said, look, I can't understand you, but I got to get out of here. There's a fire. The firemen are chopping the roof in. He was saying, get out of there. And I was saying, is who here? And all this was live, and it was so much fun. I was hooked. Anyway, I was hooked. Radio has become just a way of life for me. You know that it gets in your blood and your soul and your heart. And I would really just like to say that news people do an awful lot for radio. And, you know, we stay up late, we get stories, we really work hard to get it right. Later, I did go to journalism school. I got all the creds. I went back to college, got everything done. And, you know, here I still am. So, loving radio, back at TPR, still doing it again. And I will say that NPR has been a wonderful thing for me. I'd like to thank my beautiful children who came today. Zach from California came in, and Adam and my beautiful daughter-in-law, Bethany, one of my 3 beautiful daughters-in-law, came to see me. Josh isn't here today, but we're thinking of him. So, and I'd also like to just say thank you to Barry and to Daryl and to Bill Hill. Bill is not around so much right now, but he lives in Kemah, and we're all in touch with him, and he was a big influence on my life at WOAI, as were Don Kauser and Carl Wigglesworth and Jim Forsyth, who taught me to do things I never thought I could do. So I'm really just thrilled to be here, so thank you so much. Thank you very much.